All right, so in 3.2, we talked about the theorems that prove that, we talked about the theorems that prove things about angles given parallel lines. So if there's parallel lines, alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding angles are all congruent, and same side interior or consecutive interior are supplementary. So this one just says what theorem justifies each statement. You want to make sure you know the name. So if it's 3 and 6, those are what kind of angles? Alternate interior, so it's alternate interior angles theorem. If you forget the name, then you have to literally write out. If two lines are parallel, then alternate interior angles are congruent. 2 says 4 and 6 are supplementary. 4 and 6 are what? Consecutive. So this would be consecutive. Good. Consecutive interior angles theorem. And 3 says if angle 2, let me erase this. If angle 2 is 115, find the measure of angle 7, which is?
Also 115.
Good, 115, because? Good, alternate exterior
65.
angles theorem. 4 and 1 would be 65, right? 4, 1, 4, 5, 8, those would be. Yeah, 3 is also 115. Sure can. So if you put that as your reason, you mean? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so you could have gone 115, and those are vertical angles, and then you could have gone 115 to 7 corresponding. Yeah, 2, 3, 6, and 7 are all 115, and then 1, 4, 5, and 8 would all be 65. All right, number 4 says find the values of x and y. In this diagram, the parallel lines are at the top and the bottom.
I just chose not to do this.
Oh, that's a lovely choice. Okay, so one thing to look at is that there are 2 transversals, right? So you've got one transversal here, which means that this angle and this angle have what relationship? Which means? So that whole angle, this whole angle, which is 2x plus 10 plus 30, plus this whole angle, which is 6x, are consecutive interior, which means they add up to 180. So 8x plus 40 equals 180. Subtract that 40. 8x equals 140. And then x equals?
It's 5.
Thank you. No.
Wait.
No, it's not. Why do I listen to you?
Oh, wait, no.
How many times does 8 go into 14?
I was looking at something else. 8 goes into 14.
8.
One time.
And then into 60.
8 goes into 60. 7 times.
7 times, and that's 56. And then you can either convert that to 4/8, or you can add the point and add the 0.
0.
And there's the 5. Yeah.
Since they're part of the same transversal, that's why they're consecutive.
Say that again?
Since they're part of the same transversal, that's why it's consecutive.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's confusing because there's 2 transversals, but that is how you would do the, like the pink one, like this transversal, these 2 would be consecutive interior. But then on the other side, like if I use the other transversal, stop erasing, let me just erase it this way. If I use the other transversal, this way, I now need that to solve for y because these 2 are congruent because those 2 are alternate interior. So if that's alternate interior, this was 2 times 17.5 plus 10, which is 35 plus 10, or 45. And 45 would equal the y plus 10, and then y is 35. So you needed to first get the x in order to get the y. Yeah.
Are we going to have to divide into decimals on the test?
Sure. You can get, a 0.5. I feel like you could handle that.
I don't know how to divide
So, like,
this with
the 8. So the 8 goes into the 140, that you ended up with 4 as a remainder. There's actually 2 ways to do that. Like if you don't want to bring down this 0 here, you can also take the 4 and put it over the 8. So it would have been 17 and 4/8, which is 17 and 1/2. So if you're better with the fractions, then do it that way.
But
But yes, there are going to be times in
That's
geometry honors in which you
assuming-
have to divide numbers that don't go evenly.
That's assuming
On the
it's-
quiz.
That's, let me talk.
And the test, I'm gonna say
That's
straight across the
assuming
board.
It's 1/2.
Is there a question?
Right, if not, then you would keep going. So you add the 0.0, you bring the 0 down, and you keep dividing.
It's like geometry, not.
I also expect you to be able to still divide.
Oh, man. We're
Yes.
on the last lesson before.
Yeah. All right, number 5 says the figure shows a plant trellis. If the measure of angle 1 is 82 degrees, what's the measure of angle 2? Also 82 degrees. Because they are?
Consecutive interior.
Nope.
No, they're condescending.
No.
No, something like that.
Corresponding angles.
They're corresponding. 1 and 2 are
I
corresponding.
knew it was like a.
Those condescending angles, man, they get you every
That's
time.
why you have
What
it be.
corresponding?
It was like a.
1 and 2. So the box. Top right, top right. Okay. All right, so this was number 11 on the homework because somebody had a question on this one. It's hard when you're looking and those lines are not extended.
I just saw it, I was like, no.
I think it's trickier. I didn't say hard, but it's trickier when those lines are not extended. So I would say if you get something like this on your test, actually draw them out as extended lines. So AD and BC are what are parallel in this diagram. So if it wants you to find the relationship between ADB, ADB is this angle here, right? Then I use this transversal. So I kind of ignore the other things and I just use the 2 purple lines as my parallel lines and then the orangey line as my transversal. That angle would link to this angle as alternate interior angles.
So BC.
So D, B, C, or CBD, okay? And that's alternate interior angles.
But you can't put CBD because, like, when I looked at the right answer, it just said DBC. That's why it was so confusing. 'cause,
It
like,
said
I couldn't remember
DBC?
certain one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
strictly DBC.
Well, yeah, because it's not going to give you both because then there would be 2 answers. When you look at the next one, it says CDA. So now CDA, CAD, thank you, is the other angle. CAD is this angle here. So now we're treating this as the transversal. So you're looking at these same 2 parallel lines, but the other transversal. And that will be congruent to this angle, which is ACD.
You lost. Are we gonna have this in the quiz or test?
Do you have a diagram that you're going to have to differentiate the angles on a quiz or a test? Absolutely.
Oh, like
No.
this. You're gonna have this box with an X.
Are you going to see that's a parallelogram? So yes, you're going to see it again.
With
Yep.
an X inside of it?
Yes. Those
The
are
one you have
diagonals.
With, like, actual numbers, right?
You could.
So we're gonna have this on the test.
Not this exact thing. First of
It was asking.
all right, then the second part said name 2 pairs of supplementary angles in which AB is parallel to DC. So again, you're going back to the same parallel lines, AD and BC, but BAD, which is here, is that angle, okay? The consecutive interior would be here with that, or it would be in this direction with that. No, sorry, not the first one. It's only the second one because those are it would be here, which is ABC.
Wait, why would it be there?
Because the parallel lines are going in this direction, so now the transversal is here. Like if you use the sides of the angle that they give you, the first angle I gave you is BAD, right? BAD. One of those sides is going to be your parallel side, and one of them is going to be the transversal. These are already the parallel, which means this has to be my transversal. So if you need to rotate to see, rotate it. Like do what you have to do. If it means you're going to rotate your paper, rotate your paper. But you've got to be able to match them up. And yes, you are going to get a diagram in which there are more than one transversal. So you have to be able to distinguish which one is which.
Aren't the top and bottom?
How am I gonna bring up my grade?
It doesn't say the top and the bottom are parallel. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The directions changed, right?
Yes. Yeah. A, B, and D as well.
So now it's the other way around. It's not telling you that the ones on the left and the right are. It's telling you here, A, B, and B, C are your parallel lines. So when it says BAD, now this is your transversal. So these 2 would be your same side interior. Yeah. So be really careful because it looks like the other ones are parallel, but unless they explicitly tell you or you find out down the road that this is a parallelogram, you can't assume that they are.
But the question, if it's on the test, it's not gonna be like this long. It's not gonna be like.
I'm not going to tell you about the questions on the test yet. Okay.
Alright.
A week after next. All right, so chapter 3, section 3, which is the last one that's on your quiz. Shorting lines are parallel.
Is the quiz Wednesday or Tuesday?
Tuesday. All right, so we are basically taking everything that you learned in 3.2 and we're doing the converse to it. So in 3.2 we said if the lines were parallel then, and we determined these things about these angles, right? Now we're flip-flopping it. We're saying, okay, you have the information about the angles. Are the lines parallel? So there are five ways to prove that the angles are, the lines are parallel, which we'll get to at the end, but these are one at a time. This one is the corresponding angles converse. So notice the word converse in here. When we use the converse to the theorem, we are proving the lines are parallel. So if two lines are cut by a transversal and the corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So the converse to what we learned yesterday. Okay, next one is the alternate interior angles converse. And it says basically the converse of the first theorem. If the two lines are cut by a transversal and alternate interior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. Alternate exterior says almost the same thing except interior becomes exterior. If two lines are cut by a transversal and alternate exterior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So because the original one and the converse mean two different things, it is extremely important you use the right one. Whether you're doing a proof or it's just one question that's saying prove, like how do you know this? You have to distinguish the difference between the theorem and the converse. Yeah.
So you're gonna be approved.
All right, fourth one is the consecutive interior angles converse. This one's a little bit different because consecutive angles, right, if they're parallel, they're supplementary. So now the converse to that says if two lines are cut by a transversal and consecutive angles are supplementary, not congruent, but supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Again, the word converse being an important part of that name. Okay, this one is not one of the ones we talked about yesterday, but this is a property that applies to parallel lines, which is transitive. So just like transitive we can use for congruence, we can also use it for parallel. If two lines are parallel to the same line, then they are parallel to each other.
What is that trying to say? Oh, it's with 3.
So if M is parallel to N and P is parallel to N, then M is parallel to P, and that would be the transitive property.
That makes sense.
If M parallel to N and N parallel to P, then take out the repeated part, M parallel to P. So there's actually 5 ways because this has 2 parts. This would be 2 and 3. There are 5 ways to prove two lines are parallel. The first is show that corresponding angles are congruent. The second would be to show that alternate interior angles are congruent. The third, alternate exterior angles. The fourth, consecutive interior supplementary. And the fifth, both lines are parallel to the third line. So there are 5 ways to prove lines are parallel.
It says 4 though.
I don't know if you noticed, but like I wrote on top of it and then I said there's actually 5 ways.
4.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Or a little. So, the converse of theorem converse would be converse.
Oh my word. Don't go there. Don't even. All right, example 2 says what value of x makes AB parallel to CD. So we're trying to get AB to be parallel to CD. If that's true, what happens to the angle on the right? What does it have to equal? Well, the whole angle on the right has to equal what? 90 degrees, and I know that because this is 90 and those would be corresponding. So then x plus 40 would have to equal 90, which means x is 50. Good. There are going to be times in which there's a whole expression there, like 2x plus 10, and you have to solve it for x Those are questions on the homework that I would expect to see work on. Anything with an expression that we're setting up an equation and solving.
And we don't have to prove.
No, it didn't ask for it, but that would be the corresponding angles converse again. Yeah.
What if it just said the angle equaled 90 instead of the right angle thing? Would that be,
Like it was 90 here?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
or 90 there?
Yeah, but that would be the definition of complementary if you're doing that. All right, example 3, find the values of x and y that make j parallel to k and L parallel to t. Try it. All right, so Cal, it said, because you had your hand up first, j parallel to k. If I'm trying to find x, I'm using that top transversal. What's the relationship between 60 and 3x? They're corresponding, which makes them? It would, if the lines are parallel, then it would make them congruent. So 3x would equal 60. Good. To get to y, now we're using L and T as my parallel lines, and J would be my transversal. So the relationship between 60 and 2y is what?
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior. What's true about alternate interior? They would be congruent if those lines are parallel, so
It's
y
not asking
is
for
30.
what theorem you're using, man. No.
Correct.
So then why?
All right, example 4 is the worst thing on the planet because it's snakes. I freaking hate snakes. But you just got to go to the image, okay? How can you tell whether the sides of the pattern are parallel in the photo of the diamondback snake? So you literally just look at this little diagram, right? And how do I know that these are parallel? Mars.
Alternate interior angles converse.
Good. Those alternate interior angles are marked as congruent. So this would be alternate interior angles
This is the only lesson
converse.
I understood.
I understood all of them. I understood all the differences.
Questions on anything we talked about today?